Welcome back students. From today onward we are starting the new topic, thus gravitation. Okay, so I wrote few names here. Yes, all of these names already you know: Copernicus, Tycho Brahe, Jonas Kepler and Isaac Newton, right? So how this gravitation came in order that I wrote here. Okay, the first useful theory that was given by what? Copernicus. He first discussed about the how planets and sun moves, right? So he gives a theory that's called what? Heliocentric, right now? Heliocentric solar system, or say just system or theory, right now. He said that sun was at the center of this all system and all the planets were moving around the sun, correct? Na? Yes. So these are general knowledge only I am telling. So Copernicus was first, he gave the theory, useful. Then after that who came? Tycho Brahe. What he did? He did like he calculated experimentally the values like distance between planet and sun and all these things he calculated by experiment. So he did what? Experimental calculation he did, okay. Yes, who? Tycho Brahe. Then the student of Tycho Brahe, who is called Jonas Kepler, he analyzed this data, mainly that was done by what? Tycho Brahe. He did analysis of the data and he gave what? Some formula, we call them empirical formula. So in this chapter we learn about Kepler's 3 laws that he gave by doing the analysis of those data, right now. So what he did analysis of those data, correct now, and he gave some laws, okay, that's called Kepler's law, right now. Okay, then finally the complete theory was given by what? Isaac Newton's, right. So he gave the general theory of what? Gravitation, general theory he gave, right now. Yes. So in this chapter we will talk about these two guys numerically. What are the Kepler's laws in terms of mathematics and their use and their applications? Then Isaac Newton's laws, everybody know, right now, law of just gravitation. Okay, so let's start with this first, this itself. Okay, so the first point we'll talk here. So we call, or let's call Newton's law. Okay, law of gravitation. Okay, so from junior class itself we learning these things. You should know. Nothing to explain much about this point. So any two masses you have in this universe, small or big, doesn't matter, m1, m2, placed at some distance apart, that's called what? R. Then they exert an equal and opposite force on each other, correct? Na? That's called what? Gravitational force. And this force, how it varies, is force is directly proportional to what? Product of their masses. We put some constant, okay. This force of gravitation directly proportional to what? Product of the masses, m1 into m2, and this force is what? Inversely proportional to what? The square of the distance between these two masses, right now. Yes. So when we put them together and we write a constant, remove this proportionality sign, so we put a constant here. The constant is called G, right? Universal gravitational constant into what? M1 m2 upon what? R square. This is a formula everyone know, nothing to explain much about this, right? Yes. So if this formula you want to write in vector form, then how you write in vector form? Vector form. Same formula you want to write in vector form. Vector form is just you have to add direction here. You multiply with the unit vector, that become your vector form. So how you write this? You write f vector is equal to what? G m1 m2 upon, look here, r to this distance you are writing suppose in vector form, and this is square. What you do? Write a unit vector. This is called a unit vector, right now. Yeah. So unit vector value is what? Recently I taught you mathematics, so unit vector is nothing but what? That vector by magnitude of that vector. This is called what? Unit vector, right? Okay, so you can write here simply G m1 m2 upon, when writing value of this becomes what? R vector, and becomes what? Cube into what? R vector. That's called vector form. So be careful if they ask like scalar form, how force varies? Square proportional, inversely square proportional, but in vector form becomes what? Cube proportional, right? Be careful about that. Okay. Then let's talk about some general properties of this force, right? Yes. So general properties I am talking, which you should know. Okay. So like first property, that this force is central force. It acts what? From center to center of the body, right now. It's a central force. Yes. So it acts from what? Center to center. Okay. Also what happens? This force it can act like two masses placed very close or very very far, like planets. Okay. So it can act between what? Among when distance is very small or distance what? Very large. So you can say it acts over a large range, you can say. correct na? Two masses placed very close, two very small masses placed very close, it act between them also, and planets which are very far, it will act between them. So its range varies from 0 to infinity, you can say, okay. Yes. Then what happens, this force does not depend upon medium between them, whether these two masses are placed in space or in air or in water or some any other medium, the force does not depend upon what them, correct na? Yes. So force does not depend upon what medium, right na? Does not depend upon what medium. That what is medium, but you will see when you go to 12th class, we will see like same way electrostatic force we will see between two charges Q1 and Q2, right now. Same formula, similar formula will come like some constant K, Q1, Q and R square. That force will now depends on what medium. If two charges placed in air, in space, in vacuum, or in place in water or some other liquid or anything, then the force will change. But this force does not depends on what medium, correct? Okay. So it does not depends on medium. Okay. Suppose we do like this one, if you have multiple charges, if you have simple not charges, masses, if you have just two masses, this is the answer, right? If you have multiple masses, 3 mass, 4 mass, then you want to find net force on any one due to what other, correct na? Then what you write simply, okay, so you write superposition principle, okay, superposition principle. What's the superposition? Anything you want to add to vectors things in our physics, you simply have that the total force acting on a body is given by the force due to first body, second body. So all these forces you have to add just by what? Vector rule, because force is a vector quantity, right now? Yes. Okay. Yes. And so vector rule addition, already know that this is a rule that R is simply equal to what? A square B square plus 2AB cos theta, right? This formula everybody knows. So this formula you can use to add the two forces, right? Yes. Also, few things I should talk about this, like this G is very important. First, this G value is what? Okay. In SI system, how we write this value? You should know 6.67 into 10 power minus 11, right? Okay. Now what is unit? Give attention. This G is nothing but what? F into R square by M square, right? So it become what? F means what? Newton. Distance multiplied as a meter square by what? Kg square, right? Yes. Dimension also important. If you want to calculate, you can calculate dimension, right? Dimension, how it becomes? Same thing, only watch here. Okay, let me write somewhere here. So what is dimension of G? Look here. What unit coming? Newton. Newton means m power 1, L power 1, T power minus 2. Then is coming meter square means L power 2. Down is coming what? M square. So dimension of G simply becomes m power minus 1, L power 3 and T power minus 2. You should remember this directly, save you a lot of time. Okay. So unit is okay, dimension is okay, and value in SI system we know. Okay. So I am talking about superposition principle. Suppose two masses are given, you simply can find force between them by writing this formula. But if multiple masses are given, 2, 3 mass, 4 mass, and we have to find force on any one mass, then you can write simply this vector addition right now. Yes. Actually, how they ask questions here, they say like two mass are placed on at the corners of a triangle or a square, rectangle, these things, right now. Some regular polygon will be given to you. Then they will ask you net force on any one or what, some other charge placed at the center, and these type of questions they will ask you generally. So I will discuss this question with you. Okay. Suppose like I give some example to you. Suppose this example I say that like 3. Okay, I am not explaining. I will give example with I have separate questions for that. Suppose I say that this is triangle, okay, and I put 3 masses here. Okay, this is mass m1, this is m2, this is what m3, right? This is a equilateral triangle of side what A, correct? Then what I will do, I will ask you like what is the force on any one due to what other masses, right now? Let's say that you want to find force on this mass, m2 mass, due to what these m1 and m2. So what you do? First, you know that gravitational force is always what? Attractive in nature, right? Everybody know this, attractive in nature always, right? But when you see like next step our electrostatics and magnetic force, they will be what? Attractive or repulsive, right? But this is always what? Attractive force. So what happens? I am asking what is the net force on this mass, suppose m2, due to what? These two forces, right? So what you do? This rule you have to write, vector rule, right? So first you find force between any of these. Suppose you find force between m2 and what? M3. let's give that name force what 2 3 or 3 2 something, right? So what is the force? This mass, we want to find force on this mass, keep in mind m2 we finding, suppose they are saying, then what is the force due to m3? m3 will attract that mass in that direction, right, that direction. So the value I am calling f2 3 or 3 2 whatever, right? So what's the magnitude of that? f2 3 is like this one, okay. So what is the answer? Magnitude G mass m1 mass m2 upon what? Distance a square. This is a force. We have to write direction of force carefully because we have to add, we need angle between them always. Okay. Now force between what? Mass 1 and what? Mass 2. So this mass will also attract that mass, so direction will be like that way, right? So this force we calling what? 2 1 whatever you want to call, okay. Yes. So that's the force in this direction, and what's the magnitude of that force? F21, you say that G, then m1, I wrote little wrong here, this m2 and what? M3 we have. So m3 and m2 here, m1 m2 upon what? A square, right? Okay. Now once you calculate the individual force, right? Okay, then you have to find net force, you write this formula, so you need angle between them. So you see the angle between these two forces becomes what? 60 degree, because it's an equilateral triangle, right? So all angles are 60 degree, right? So this angle you can write, and now you write your formula to find net force. Say net force will be simply what? Like this is your force 1, force 2, right? And angle between them is what? 60 degrees. So you can write this formula to calculate the answer of this question. So like f1 square, f2 square, whatever you want calling, 2 f1 f2 and what? Cos theta you can put here, you will get your answer, right? Okay. Okay, it's better I take some example on this, so you will understand better, okay? Okay. Okay, I will give example, but look here, some question they ask like this way only, like a triangle is given, 3 masses are placed at the corner of triangle, or a square, rectangle, or some regular polygon. We have to find net force either on any one masses, or some mass is placed at the center here, another mass m4 placed here. We have to find force on this. Yes, we can do. I will give example. Another question they ask like equilibrium. What is important? I write one important property. Suppose you have a small body, you have small mass. Okay, m1 is very small and m2 is very big, suppose, but they apply what? Exactly equal and opposite force on what? Each other. It does not depend that mass should be equal, or some mass should be what? Small, some should be big. Doesn't matter whatever mass are there, small, big or equal, the force they apply is exactly equal and what? Opposite, correct na? Yes. So suppose they make you fool and they say this is moon and this is what? Sun something, okay. Sun is very big, or they can say earth. Then suppose this sun is applying some force F1 on this moon, then how much moon apply on what? Sun. So they will say less, more or equal. So what is the answer? Exactly equal, right now? Equal and opposite force they apply, right? Direction will be opposite. Sun will attracting the moon in this direction like this one, okay. Then moon attracting sun like in that direction, but with equal and what? Equal in magnitude and opposite in what? Direction. Okay. Here they ask a very important question, that's called what? Equilibrium. Equilibrium is already I told you meaning in last chapter also. Equilibrium is what? Net force is what? 0, right now? Net force is 0. So they say that some mass is placed between 2 masses or 3 masses, and the net force on that is what? 0. It is that mass will be under what? Equilibrium. So generally we have to calculate distance. This question generally they ask for 2 masses. How they say? They say like these are 2 masses, m1 and what? m2, placed at some distance what? r apart, right? Then they say that where I should put a third mass, okay, and generally this third mass will be point mass, they say in exam, okay, maximum time. So a point mass is placed here, means its mass is value is what? Unit, okay. Okay, so that the net force on this due to these 2 masses becomes what? 0, or they say this, the third mass is what? Under equilibrium, okay. So we have to calculate distance. Suppose say from this the distance we call what? X from what? m1, okay. Then they are saying the net force should be 0. So one force due to m1 on this particle, let's call it what? Attractive force f1, and due to this let's call it what? f2. So to make net force 0, f1 should be equal to what? f2, correct? Thus to make net force 0, f1 should be equal to what? f2, correct? What is f1? Force due to this mass on this point mass. The formula we are writing G m1 into what? 1, that mass we are calling a unit mass always, okay. So by what? Distance x square should be equal to the force due to this f2, that's what? G m2 into unit mass m1 by distance become what? r minus x and what? Square of this, right? Okay, let's cancel this. G get cancelled, 1 get cancelled, Now take root, we have to find x, so take root on both sides, becomes what? Root m1 by x is equal to root m2 by r minus x. Let's cross multiply them, you will see that becomes r into root of m1 minus x into root of m1 is equal to x into what? Root of what? M2. We have to find x, so you see x comes in from this formula, becomes what? Root m1 upon root m1 plus root m2 into what? R. That is a simple formula, you can remember this also and you should understand this also, okay. Yes. So what is question? Two mass are there, m1, m2, and a point mass, third mass is placed between them, so that the net force on that third mass or point mass is what? 0, or they said that mass is what? Under equilibrium. So what is the distance of this mass from m1? That becomes this one. If they are distance from r2, you find x, you can write like r minus x, this distance from what? M2 mass, okay. Yes. So this directly also you can remember this formula, and the same formula will be in 12th class your electrostatics also. Two charges are placed where I should put third charge, so that net force on the third charge becomes what? 0. Okay. In that case we have like force two type, like attractive, repulsive, so we get two conditions, but here there is only one condition because the force is only what? Attractive. So when a point mass is placed between them, then only the force becomes 0. Suppose you put this mass here or here, then force cannot become 0, that cannot be under equilibrium, okay. Yes. So when the third mass is placed between these two masses, then only it can be what? Under equilibrium, okay. Yes. So this is a direct way also to solve. Masses you put and distance you put, you will get your answer, okay. Okay. So mainly I said two type of questions they asked to us from this part, Newton's law of gravitation, general formula. Either they asked to calculate net force, okay, on some particle, or they ask like this type of equilibrium questions, okay. Okay. So now I am doing some questions based on this, where you have to calculate net force and these things. So this time I am not writing questions here because this consumes a lot of time. So I have attached the sheet which I am solving here, okay. You can download that first, take a print or a digital copy and see there, okay. I am not writing questions here now. So look here, first question was about like this one. They are saying a mass m is divided into two parts, x into m and 1 minus x into what? M, for a given separation. The value of x for which the gravitational attraction between the two pieces becomes maximum, okay. They said I had a mass m, this is m, and I divided into two parts, like x into m one mass, other mass is what? 1 minus x into what? M. This is second mass. Like this is m by 3, that m by 2, something we divided, okay. Yes. So they are asking that what the value of x, so that the force between these two masses become what? Maximum. Directly I gave a little difficult question, because why I am giving this question directly, because this concept I had taught you recently. I have taught in two chapters. Recently we did mathematics, I told you the maxima and minima condition, and the last chapter we did where also maximum minima case came, right now, like equilibrium conditions of your work energy power, we wrote the maximum and minima thing, right. So already know that when you want to find maxima or minima, what you do, you differentiate that thing and equate to 0, you will get your condition, correct na? So they are saying what value of x, the force between these two masses become maximum. So suppose they say they are placed at some distance, okay, some distance, let us say r distance, okay. Now let us write force between these two. Force between these two will be g into m1, that is m1, x into m, that is m2, 1 minus x into what? M, by distance is what? R square, correct. Distance is fixed, what is variable? This x is variable, okay. So let us differentiate this thing and equate to what? 0. So let us differentiate df into what is variable here? Dx, equate to what? 0. So these things are constant, all things I do not worry about them. I have to differentiate just what I have to differentiate, just x term only, d by dx. Look here, g m, I took this all outside, r square outside, what is remaining? X minus x square, this only I have to differentiate actually, okay. So when I differentiate this, what are you getting? You are getting 1 minus 2x, correct. This should be equal to what? 0. So we see that from here 1 minus 2x should be 0, it means what? X should be what? 1 by 2 to get what? Maximum force, right now. So when you want to find maximum minima condition, what you do, simply differentiate that quantity and equate towards 0. You will get your condition that at this condition or this value, the force between these two masses will be maximum. What's the meaning of x 1 by 2? That will become m by 2, m by 2. When you divide two equal pieces, then the force will be what? Maximum, correct. This question was asked in our exam in little different way. They said that They say like one mass was divided into two pieces. One piece they said capital M, one piece is what M. Then they said what should be the ratio of M by M so that force become maximum. Again the answer became what? Same only, like this only. Okay. Yes. You should divide these two pieces into what? Half so that exactly half so that force become what? Maximum. Okay. Then I told you like here we get condition. We got at this x value of this much, force will maximum. Then you check whether it's really maximum or minimum. For that I told you have to double differentiate this. So again differentiate this term. What you will get answer here? Suppose differentiate, you get what? -2. When double differentiation is a negative answer, that value is called what? Maximum, right? Hope you remember from work energy power, I told you all these things, right? Yes. This is called what? The double differentiation of this coming what? Negative answer means that value is really maximum. Yes, maximum. Suppose this answer becomes what? Positive, then that value is called what? Minimum. Correct? Okay. So this is very important for us. Okay, let's do next question. So next question is saying that the mass of the moon is about 1.2% of the mass of the earth, right? Compared to gravitational force that earth exert on the moon, the gravitational force the moon exert on earth will be what? So I told you that this gravitational force is always what? Equal and what? Opposite, right? Now this side is the moon, this earth. The mass of the moon is just 1.2% of the earth only, right? Very small, around 1% of earth only, but they will exert equal and opposite force on each other. Suppose you say that earth applying what? You say that 10 Newton on this, then this will also apply exactly 10 Newton. Equal and opposite does not depend that one mass is small and one is big. No. So what is the answer? Same. Moon and earth will apply just equal in magnitude, okay, and opposite in direction. Okay. Third question. They said 4 particles of mass m1, 2, m3, mn, 4 are kept in a sequence at the corners of a square of side A. The magnitude of gravitational force acting on a particle of mass m placed at the center of the square will be what? Okay. Before doing this question, let me do a simple question for this. Okay. I am not doing third question, I am doing a general question like this. Suppose I say that 4 mass are there, okay, placed at the 4 corner of a square. I am doing an easier problem before this to understand this. M, all are M, say, correct. Mass 1, mass 2, mass 3, mass 4, some names I am giving, and this is square of side what A, say, correct? No? 4 mass are placed at the 4 corners of square, or it will be a rectangle also. Then I ask you the force on any one due to other masses. Suppose I am asking that find the net force on what? Mass number 3 due to what? Other remaining 3 masses. Then how you will calculate? You calculate like this one. First you calculate the force between what? These two, okay? Any you can pick. So 2 and 3. This mass will attract that mass in this direction. This is the direction of force. We are calling F23. This is mass number 2, mass number 3. So F23. And what's the value of F23? Let's write that also here. It becomes G M M. Both are M square by distance A square. Correct? Let's call that. Okay. This one only keep. Now the force between these two masses. Let's call. So that will like that one. This mass will attract that mass. We are finding net force on this, keep in mind, okay. So that mass will attract that mass towards it. So what is force name? Let's call 3, 4 something. So what's the value of this 3 and 4? That become again G M square upon what? A square. Mass is what? M, distance what? Again A, correct. There is one more force now, this force between these two masses. That's called F what? 1 and what? 3, correct. First we need that distance, because this is a distance between them, that distance what? X. So we become triangle, you can write a Pythagoras theorem, this is A, so that x becomes simply root 2 into what? A, right? X square is equal to A square plus A square. So what is the force between these? G M square, and distance what? Root 2 into A, so they become 2 into what? A square, correct? Na? R square. Now these are 3 forces we have to add them, all 3 forces we want to add them. But you know, by vector rules we add only 2 forces like root A square B square plus 2AB cos theta. So what you do? First you add these two, any two, okay. This force and this force you add them. What is the resultant of these two forces? Correct? Na? Let's write. What do you want to write? Name some. This is 2. This is a 4. So I am writing 2, 4 something. Okay. What is the answer? Let's give to make calculation simple. Look here. This you call value as x. That value also what? X. So that value, see, this become what? X by 2. Right now you can give some, so that you don't need to write the complete value in the formula. So simply what is the answer? A square is what? X square. B square is what? Also x square plus 2AB means what? X square, and cos theta. What is the angle here? This is 90 degree between this force and that force, right? Cos 90 means what? That term is what? 0. So this answer becomes root 2 into what? X. And what's the meaning of x? Root 2. X means same thing only, G M square upon what? A square. Now look here. Resultant of these two. These are equal in magnitude. So what is the resultant of this? It will be in this direction, like that one. Okay, resultant of this along what? This direction. Okay, correct. The resultant of these two will be along this direction, because exactly same magnitude, so force become exactly in middle of them, right? You can calculate that also by writing like F by X, but it's okay. So the force will come here. Now this force and force due to what? Third piece, means this one, they are in what? Same direction, right? Along the same line. So angle between this force and this force is what? 0 degree, right? Again we write what? Same vector rules and add these two forces, right? So again you adding the final force, that what is the answer? Look here, a square, that we calling a square, you write x square by 4, b square, that force we calling b square, that become root 2 into x square, right, plus 2ab. Okay, so 2a means what? Okay, if you see carefully, that's hard work. More simple is what? Angle is given 0 degree. So if you write like a square b square plus 2ab and cos 0, that becomes what? 1. So answer becomes simply a plus b. That's simple calculation, right? Simply becomes what? A plus b. So what is a here? That value, x by 2. What is b value here? Root 2 into what? X. So you can take 1 by 2 plus root 2 into what? X. So that's your answer. 1 plus 1 by 2 plus root 2 x means only what? We x we calling this term, g m square upon what? A square. That's what your answer. Correct. So net force on any one particle you can find by writing superposition principle. So let's talk about this question that we were doing now. So here they said question number 3 we are talking. Question number 3. This I explained you. Okay, question number 3, what they said? 4 particles of each mass m, 2m, 3m and 4m kept in sequence at the corners of a square of side A. Square is given, side is given A, and 4 mass are there, m, 2m, 3m and 4m are placed here, right? Okay. Then they are saying here that calculate the magnitude of force acting on a particle of mass m placed at the center of the square. Okay. So one particle is placed at the center of the square at this, and how much value they gave? M, right now? Yes, m. Any value can give m. What is the force on this particle due to all these 4 forces, right? 4 particles, right? Let's calculate it one by one. Okay. So how we calculate? Let's start with this. Look here. What is the force on this particle due to? I give name also. Okay. Obviously it's 1, 2, 3 something you can say to understand. What is the force between these at this particle due to what? This m. So what is the answer? Attractive, like that one, right? Let's call that F1. Correct na? So how much the value of F1? You say F1 is what? G, m and m square, and that distance let's call x. By what? X square will put at the end x, okay? Because this particle at same distance from all 4 masses, okay? So we'll write at the last. Okay. What is the force between these 2 masses? 3m and what? M. That will attractive in that direction, right? So F3 I am calling that force between these 2. So G mass m and 3m. So 3m square upon what? X square, right? Now let's solve these 2. You see the force due to this mass and that mass are just opposite direction, right? Na? So angle is what? 180 degree. So we adding by same vector rules only, root a square b square plus 2ab cos 180. That become a square b square minus 2ab, or answer becomes simply a minus b. So net force due to these 2. Let's call that F13 I am calling, that becomes what? Just subtract them, these 2 numbers. So if you subtract these numbers, it becomes simply what? 2g m square upon what? X square. And also you see that which force is big? The force due to 3m is bigger, right? So net direction of force will be what? Upward, like that way. The net force will be in this direction, that force we are calling F13. That's the value here, equation 1. Correct? Now same way let's calculate force due to 2m. The force due to 2m in this particular attractive in that direction, let's call it F2. So what is F2? That F2 will be G2m square upon what? Again x square distance, right? That distance again what? X. So mass is what? G, that mass is m, that mass is 2m, okay? This one. Then what is the force between 4m and 2m? That will in this direction attractive, F4 I am calling. So what is F4 value? F4 value will G, that mass m, that what? 4m by what? X square, or say 4 times of G m square upon what? X square. Now these 2 forces are again opposite to each other, right? The force due to what 2m and what 4m opposite to each other. So directly we can subtract them, because again angle is what 180 degree. When you put 180 here, answer becomes what directly a minus b. When you put 0 degree, it becomes what a plus b. When you put 90 degree, it becomes what root a square b square. These three angles are easy to calculate. So what is the net force? We calling 2, 4, whatever. So this minus that you write. So this becomes 2 times of g m square upon what x square. So resultant force due to these two masses together means 2m and 4m will be in this direction, right? This direction, that we are calling F 2, 4, whatever. Now we have two force, this force and that force, means this force and that force. These two force again we have to add by again vector rule. Okay, okay. You can write if you watch carefully, exactly same value they coming right now. If you call that value, suppose if they come different, you can call this term as some value like a, b. So this you can call like a, then you know that is also coming simply a, right now. Yes, we giving some names so to reduce what calculations. Now what is that angle between these two? Angle will be what? Obviously 90 degree, right now, because see there, this is your square, these are diagonals. So these diagonals, what's the angle here? 90 degree. All angles are 90 degree, right now. So this angle is what? 90 degree. So you want to add this force, what? This force and that force. So what is the resultant force? Final force, net force. That will be again root a square b square plus 2ab cos theta. Two force are same value, like I am writing a square plus 2a square and cos what 90. So this term is 0, become root 2 times of the a, root 2 times of what a. So what is root 2 times of the a? So that become root 2 times a means that value only 2 into g m square upon what x square. So that will be your final answer. Okay, now we have to put one more value, x value you have to put, because the answer they given terms of what side of the square, right? So what is x here? Okay, that we have to put on last. Okay, so let's calculate again this side a, that side a. So what is total this diagonal length? That diagonal length obviously this will be what? Root 2 into what a, correct na? Root 2 into what a. It is a, this is a. So what is that side? 2a, but we need this much distance only from center to that corner only. So half of this root 2a by what 2, that becomes a by root 2. So that x is nothing but what? That x is what? Simply a by what? Root 2. That you can substitute here. So when you substitute that value here, what you will get? A by root 2 and square, so 2 will go off, become 4 times of root 2 into g m square upon what? A square. That will be your resultant force. And if they ask direction, direction will be somewhere here, right? Yes, in this direction. Correct. So hope you are understanding these questions. Let's see next question now. So answer of this question will be third option you can see. Okay, suppose these masses are equal value m, like this case m. Then I ask you, I put any mass here of value m, 2m, 5m, 100m of point mass, the net force on this directly becomes what? 0, because 4 equal force, attractive like that, attractive like that, okay, of equal magnitude will cancel each other and net force on this particle becomes what? 0. But here masses are different values, so it's not coming 0, right? Okay, then let's see next question. Two particles of each of equal mass go around a circle of radius r under the action of their mutual gravitational attraction. The speed of each particle is what? So two particles are moving in a circle, they are saying circular path due to what? Gravitational attraction. Then what the velocity of each part? Okay, I have to do one more question, so I do it here. Okay, look here, this is the fourth question we are doing on this Newton's law. Okay. So they said two mass are given to us, suppose let us say equal value m and they are moving in a circular path like this one. Okay, this is a radius r, they are moving in a circular path m and m. Okay, yes, so like this one. Okay, one mass here, one mass here. Okay, then they said radius is given r, that is due to the mutual attraction they are moving. What is the speed of each particle? So here two forces are acting, simply you can see what two force, one gravitational and they are moving in a circle, so centripetal force. Okay, what is the gravitational force? So under equilibrium, what you say that gravitational force should be equal to what? Centripetal force, right? What is the gravitational force? G m1, m1 means m, m2 means what? M, and distance between these two masses, they are moving in a circle, so they should be always diametrically opposite to move in a circle. Okay. Yes, so distance become what? R and R, that becomes what? 2r means 4r square, that is what? Gravitational force. Then what is centripetal force acting on each? Centripetal force become m v square upon distance or radius is what? R. Be careful, here when they are moving like in a circle and two masses, they always will should in where they should be always diametrically opposite. So one is here, one is here. So distance between them becomes 2r. So in the gravitational formula it becomes what? 2r, right? And square of this. But centripetal force is what? mv square r only. So let's cancel this number. 1 m goes here, 1 r goes here. So v square simply becomes root of gm by 4r. So how options are given? You can arrange according to that. 2 they took outside. So when you take 2 outside becomes 1 by 2 root of gm by what? R. That should be your answer, right? Okay. Okay, let's move to now last question. One more question on this. So there's a fifth question. So a solid sphere of uniform density and radius r applies the gravitational force of attraction equal to F1 on a particle placed at point A. So look at you can see picture, that is a sphere given. Okay, this is sphere and the radius of the sphere is given what as r. Then there is a point mass given here. Okay, point mass value you can take always unit. Okay, okay. So yes, this distance also given as what? R, right? This is given R. Okay. So they say the force between this mass or this mass given m, okay, is given what? F1. Initial force is between this point mass and that sphere is given what? F1. Then they say that some part of this is cut and removed. So this cutting and remove, this question we have done already in 2 chapters. We have done in center of mass, they ask new position of center of mass, then we have done in inertia also, right? Now part of body is cut and removed, then what is new inertia, right? And now this is a third point coming, like some part is cut and removed, then what is new gravitational force. So they are saying that remember this is sphere, okay, very important, not disc, sphere. Okay, so they said a spherical cavity of radius r by 2 is cut and removed. Some part of this is cut and removed from this part. This is part is what? Cut and removed. Radius of this is what? R by 2. Correct? They are saying now force remaining, remaining force is what? F2 given. Then they are asking what's the ratio of this F2 by F1, this they are asking. Okay. So let's calculate this. Okay. Very, very interesting question. Look here, when before cutting they are saying force is what? F1. So what's the value of F1? Let's write before cutting. Before this part is cut and removed. So I am writing before cutting, what answer comes? Before cutting. That force they are calling F1. So that becomes G, mass of the complete sphere is m, mass of that this is we calling 1 unit mass or point mass, and distance is what? From center to center. That is R, that's R. So it become what? 4r square. Let's call that equation 1. This is before cutting. Always remember that your gravitational force, I told you properties act center to center. So center of this sphere, uniform sphere, to the center of this point mass is okay. So distance what? 2r. Okay. Now we have to calculate that if this part is cut and removed, then what is the new force? Okay. So first we calculate that what is the force, because this is a uniform thing, right? We cutting. So what is the force between this the part which is cut and that point mass? So I am writing here, let's understand this, that force between what? Between that cavity. Suppose instead of cavity there is mass here, this much sphere, and what? Your point mass, right? In really you want to calculate what is the force due to remaining part and that that point mass. So I am calculating what is the force due to that cavity, means that much sphere. Okay. So let's calculate. We need mass of that sphere first. Okay. Let's call mass some m days. Radius is given r by 2. M days we need. So the sphere mass proportional to what? Volume. Okay. So total mass of the sphere, the big sphere I am calling m. The mass of the part is cutting calling what? M days. Mass is proposed to what? Volume. Be careful. If it's like a disc is there, you can write mass proposed to what? Area. Okay. Mass proposed to what? Volume. That I am writing. So mass of the big sphere is what? M. Mass of the removed part is what I am calling m days. So volume of the big part is what? 4 by 3 pi r cube. Mass of the removed part is what? 4 by 3 pi r by 2 cube. So if you see that this get cancelled, m days simply coming what? M by 8. So mass of this removed part is what? Simply m by 8. Now let's calculate this. The force between what? This removed part, this much part, and what? This. So let's call that some f days I am calling. Okay, f days. What is the answer? G. M, mass of that part is what? M by 8. Mass of that, this we calling what? 1. And distance between them. What is distance? From this center to what? That center. That's what? R by 2. That's what? R. So that become 3 by 2 of r and what? Square. If you do like this, you know what you will get. Okay, you will get like this one, gm is there. Okay, square, this become r square and number is what? So there is 9 here and 8 also comes down. Okay, 4 goes up, so it's coming 18 actually, right? 1 by 18 is coming, I think I correct only. So 9 is here, 4 goes up, 4 goes 2 times 18. Okay, this is what your F dash. This is the F dash force due to what? This cavity, means this much part which is cutting removed. We actually want to calculate what is force due to the remaining part. This is cut and removed. So remaining force, that we calling F2 they calling. So F2 will be simply equal to what? The original force due to complete, which is what? F1 minus the force due to removed part F dash. Let's subtract these two. So you know gm and r square are two common here. That what is remaining? 1 by 4 minus what? 1 by 18. Okay. So how much this comes F2? Let's calculate. F2 will come gm by r square. So suppose you take here 36 as LCM, then 4 will go 9 times, 18 go 2 times, so becomes 7 by what? 36. This is what your F2, correct now? This F2 is what? Force due to the cavity, remaining cavity. So what we did? We calculated initially the total force. Suppose the complete sphere was there, so we calculated, then we calculated the force due to this removed part. Okay, then the force due to this cavity is what? The total force minus removed part we did, and we found F2. So this question they are asking like what is F2 by F1, right? So this is your F2 by F1. F2 by F1 will be simply this term by that term, correct? So here what we getting? 7 by 36. So this part will get cancelled obviously. Okay, so 7 by 36 divided by what? This becomes what? How much? 1 by 4, 4 will go up, so it goes 9 times. So is this answer coming 7 by what? 9. This is given some options, yes, given in what? Your fourth option. So this is a very interesting question. Okay, okay. So once quickly see it, equilibrium questions can be asked. Two masses are given, some point mass is placed between them. They ask at what distance should put this so that mass is under equilibrium, or net force on that becomes what? 0. So you find F1, you find F2 and equate them, simply F1, F2 equate them, you will get your answer, or direct formula this also. This formula is useful when these masses are given like some easy square root. Suppose this mass is given to you 4 kg, that given 9 kg, then that become very easy. Root like m1 4 means 2, you can put it here, right now? Yes. Okay. So this is your first topic, Newton's law. Okay. Let's move to now second topic. We talk about Kepler's laws. Okay. So we are talking now second topic, that's Kepler's laws. So as I told you starting, that Kepler was a student of Tycho Brahe, who did the experimental analysis on this planetary motion, and Kepler formulated them into what? Laws, empirical formulas. Okay, let's talk so what Kepler's laws. First law. Okay, first law is also called law of orbits. In this law he talked that what is the shape of the orbit in which the planets are moving around the sun. Okay, so he says that all planets, all planets moves around sun in elliptical orbits. So the shape of orbits, which used to be like before him, we used to assume that they are like circular. Okay, so he proved that they were what? In elliptical what? In elliptical shape. Okay, so the orbits what? Elliptical. All planets moves around sun in what? Elliptical orbits, and while sun is at any one of the focus of ellipse. Where is sun placed? Is placed like the focus of that ellipse. Ellipse has two focus, we know. Let me draw it here. So suppose this is an elliptical path. So you see that this is one focus, there is another focus here, right? Let's give some name S1 and S2. It has two focus, right? So they're saying the sun is placed at any one focus. Suppose sun you put here, doesn't matter, or you put that point. So this is what your sun. Then planet will be moving around the sun in this elliptical orbit. This is your planet, right? Moving like that, okay? Right? Yes. Okay, here we talk few terms. So first law is very simple, say that all planets just moves around sun in elliptical orbit and sun is placed at any one focus, either here or either here, you can assume. Okay, then okay, few words we talk. Look here, this point is called what? Perihelion. It's called what? Perihelion, perihelion, and this point is called aphelion. These are what? Simply the nearest distance and farthest distance. So that distance, okay, this perihelion is what? Nearest, okay, nearest distance to sun. Let's give some name. Suppose this distance is called r minimum. Okay, yes, r minimum. That's what the nearest distance of the planet from the sun. That's called what? Perihelion, right? And so this is called what? Longest distance. Okay, farthest distance. Farthest distance from what? Sun. So this is sun. So that distance, let's give some name, that we call r max. So this is we call what? R max. Correct. Okay. So these two words, perihelion and what? Aphelion. Okay. Then we talk about axis here in our elliptical orbits, like we talk about semi major axis and semi minor axis. So suppose this is center point, this is center point, then that distance, let's give some name A, or you can call that distance also, both are A. So this is called semi major axis, right? Your A is called what? Semi major axis, right? Same way we talk about that distance, right? That's called B, that's called semi minor axis. Semi minor axis, and you can see that A is very easy to relate with this minimum and R max. You can see that this A is nothing but, which is calling semi major axis, this is nothing but what? R minimum plus R maximum by what? 2. That's a simple relation. Okay, because that distance plus that distance, this total distance divided by 2 is what? Your A, correct? No? Yes. Okay, this is just simply what your first law, which is called law of orbits. Is talk about the shape of the orbit simply, that orbits are what? Elliptical, and sun is placed any one focus of the ellipse, right? Okay, so no numerical are asked here. Let's move to the second law. So Kepler's second law is called law of area. Kepler's second law is called what? Law of area, correct? So this we say in many ways, I will write all possible ways. So this law says what? First, that when a planet is moving around sun, then in equal time interval, it always covers what? Equal area. In equal time interval, it covers what? Equal area, or you say that area and time are what? Proportional, or you say area by time is what? A constant. So I am writing all those possible, how you can say. So we say probably like a line drawn from sun to planet. You draw a line from sun to what? Planet, then the area covered, or I should write like this one, then the planet covers equal area in equal time interval. Means simply saying that area is directly proportional to what? Time. A planet covers what or sweeps what? Equal area in what? Equal time interval. Let me show in board how you can understand this more easily. Suppose I draw same picture here again. This is what this is sun here. Okay, this is sun. Suppose your planet was here at this point, say point A. You wait for some time, you say that planet come to your B point, right? Then you draw lines from sun like this one. It will cover some area here, that area, right? Now, yes, this you wait for time t and you cover what? Some area A here. Then suppose planet was some other point, you say at this point, okay, A dash. Then you wait for the same time t and suppose it comes somewhere here at this point. Then you will draw lines from here, then this will also cover what? Exactly same area. This area will be also what? A, if time is what? Same. In equal times, it sweeps what? Exactly equal area. Or you say area is proportional to what? Time. Or you can say this law in other way like this one. You can say that the rate of area swept, by planet is always what? Constant. Means you can say that dA by dt, this is what? Constant. Either say area proportional to time, yes, simply, or area by time you make it here, then that term become constant. So you say that the rate of area swept is what? Constant. Or this dA by dt, rate of area swept, they give a name, that's called what? Areal velocity. So you can, this law also you can say that the areal velocity of planet is always constant. Means this term that I am saying dA by dt, this is also called areal velocity, this is also always what? A constant term. Okay, rate of area swept, area proportional to time, area by time is constant, that term is also called what? Areal velocity, correct? Okay, so here we are interested, okay, three ways I said already in terms of area and time. So look here, let us calculate that what is that area in really. Okay, suppose I want to calculate what is dA by dt, a small area, some area in small time, not small area, area will be very big, time is small. So suppose you wait for some time, you start, your planet start from here and come to this point, in what some time, you say what? Dt, time, small time. So that distance I call r, and say that it covers that distance what? Dx. From A to B I am calling distance what? Dx. This is almost looking like a triangle only, we assume triangle only. Okay, so this is almost a triangle, you can write this in terms of angular or linear, I am writing in terms of linear. So look here, what is area? Area is what? Half into base into height is a triangle, so dx I am writing by what? Dt. I wrote this area of this triangle simply. Okay, r is a distance, I am saying almost same here and here, that distance more is what? X, dx. Now dx by dt is what? Your velocity. Yes, rate of change of distance is what? Your velocity. So this become half into r into what? V. Correct, this we got, this is velocity dx by dt. Now divide this term and multiply by what? Mm. So that this term becomes what? Angular momentum, like this one. So now we got a very important relation here, the rate of area swept, or also called areal velocity, is also equal to what? Angular momentum by what? 2m, where L is the angular momentum of the planet, right? Angular momentum of the planet. So now you can say this law another way also, that the angular momentum of the planet is what? Always constant, because dA by dt term is constant. So this laws you can say one more way, what? You say that angular momentum of planet is always what? Constant. This way also can define your third law, right? Second law, sorry. Yes. So this relation was asked directly in our exam also, that how the areal velocity is related with what? Angular momentum. So dA by dt is simply equal to L upon what? 2m. If you are seeing some books, you can write in terms of angular also, like d theta you write here, you can write, doesn't matter, but this is the same thing. Okay, yes. Okay, so this is the relation we got, is very important, and they will ask question on this, direct questions. Okay, now other question how they ask, look at angular momentum, what we said L is what? mv into r, right? Again watch it carefully. So angular momentum is a constant, yes, this is a constant. Then mass of the planet also constant, mass not changing while moving around the sun. Then what changing? Velocity and what? Distance, correct? Velocity and distance will be changing, and you see that v and r becomes what? Inversely proportional. Velocity of the planet, correct na, is inversely proportional from what? Distance from what? Sun. Yes, these two things are what? Inversely related. Means when planet is coming close to the sun, the velocity of the planet will be increasing, and when planet is going away from the sun, the velocity of the planet will reducing, right now. So v is inversely proportional r, and many questions they have asked on this, very simple question they have asked on this, velocity and distance are inversely proportional, right now. So I said like in this picture, that is called a perihelion, right now, nearest distance. So at this point the velocity of this planet will be what? Maximum at this point. Okay, I can draw one more picture, look here. So yeah, this is your sun. Then I am saying at this point this distance is called r minimum, and at this point the velocity will be what? Maximum, keep in mind, and at this point you say r is maximum and the velocity will be what? Here minimum. Velocity and distance are what? Inversely proportional. So there is a relation among these two, it is very important. Okay, yes. Okay, then this much only we need. There is a in some book they write this velocity relation in terms of what eccentricity also not important for medical people, eccentricity, but I'm writing here V max by V min you can also write in terms of eccentricity, that becomes 1 plus E upon what 1 minus E, a simple relation if you can remember it. So E is what eccentricity, right? Yes. Okay, so this was your second law. It's called law of area. Okay, area served by a planet is what always constant. Okay, so how they ask question, many questions they have asked like related mainly with this relation, then they have asked this also direct relation, then they have asked question here they give picture, some pictorial question. They said that it goes from A to B point in time t, it covers area A, then it goes from this point that point in 2t time taken is 2t, then what is area here? Area becomes what? Double, correct na? Because area and time are what? Proportional. Okay, remember always. Okay, now let's talk about what? Third law. So this is your Kepler's third law, also called law of periods. This talk about what? Time. In this law we learned that a planet is moving around sun, then how much time it will take and how that time is related with what? Distance from the sun, correct na? So this law simply they said that the square of the time to go around the sun, it says that the square of time to go around sun is directly proportional to what? Directly proportional to the cube of average distance from sun. Time and distance, how they are related? Time square to go around the planet is proportional to what? R cube, right? This how this relation comes, that we will see in the next topic that will come, the interplanetary motion. We will talk what is time period, what is the distance, these things, and what is like a planetary velocity. This will come there. Right now we are just writing the law only. Okay, time square is proportional to what? R cube, and you see you can also write time is proportional to what? R power what? 3 by 2, correct? So here they ask the comparison questions. They always compare two planets. One planet is at that distance, this is a time period, then what is the time period of other planet if distance is given, right now, or time is given, they will ask you distance given, they will ask you time. So simple comparison question they will ask you. So you can write, when you are talking about two things, comparing two things, you can write like T1 square, time period of the first planet to second planet is equal to distance of the first planet to distance of the second planet, right? Like this way you can write and find your unknown answer, right? So these were the Kepler's 3 laws. Now we will do some numerical practice on these, okay, to understand how they ask questions in exam. So we are doing questions on Kepler's laws, and look, first question you will see it, question number 6. A satellite of mass m as a distance of r from the center of the earth. Like whatever rules you write for like planet moving around sun, same you can write for what? A satellite moving around planet, okay? Yes. So satellite moving around planet also have that what? Elliptical orbit, okay? Another satellite of mass 2m at a distance of 2r, correct? From the earth's center, the time periods will be in the ratio of what? Okay, okay, time period and distance relation they are asking. So give attention here. Do not confuse here, like mass of the first satellite is given what? M, and second is given what? 2m. Time period does not depends on mass. In time what is coming? Only t square proportional to what? R cube, okay? Yes. So this is your Kepler's law, t square proportional to what? R cube. And we want to find time relation, so T1 by T2 is simply equal to what? R1 by R2 power what? 3 by 2, can write. All values are given. So, okay, time ratio only they are asking, so T1 by T2 only they are asking. Okay, R1 is given R and second R2 is given 2R power 3 by 2. This become 1 by 2 power 3 by 2, or you can write this as write 2 root 2, right? 2 power 3 by 2 means what? 2 power 1 plus 1 by 2. So this is the answer. What the answer they are asking? T1 ratio T2, that comes to what? 1 ratio 2 root 2. Do not confuse here, the mass they give m and 2m, but mass in this formula there is no mass, okay? Time and distance related like this one, does not depends on mass of that planet. Okay, this is your first question. Seventh problem. The maximum and minimum distance of a comet from sun is given. If its velocity when nearest to the sun is 60 meter per second, what is the velocity when is farthest? Okay, so we know that we have just learned in second law that the angular momentum, which is called MVR, is what? Constant, right? Yes, angular momentum should be what? Constant. So m is permanent constant, means Vr term should be constant. So write like this: when V is maximum, already we know that R will be what? Minimum, right? Should be equal to what? V minimum, then what? R will be what? Maximum. Can you see? Or you write V1 R1 is equal to V2 R2. That's a more proper way. When velocity is maximum, distance will be what? Minimum, right now? Okay, when velocity minimum, distance will be what? Maximum. So this lets me know. So what they are asking us here, distances are given and they are asking velocity. Okay, so how you write? You write V max by V minimum is becomes what? Oh, I wrote both places. I wrote minimum. Please give attention. V max R minimum. So same thing I wrote, only both sides. So be careful about this. V maximum R minimum. So V minimum, then what? R will be what? Maximum. Should write like that way. Okay. Okay. So V max by V min becomes what? R max by what? R minimum. Okay. Let's put the value. So look what is given to you. R max is given. How much given R max? They said maximum is given 8 into 10 power what? 12. Minimum is given 1.6 into 10 power what? 12. And what is given? They said when velocity is when is nearest to the sun. When already I explained you like this is sun. When planet is here, the distance is minimum and velocity is what? Maximum when it's close to the sun. So they said when it's close to the sun, the velocity is given what? 60. So means maximum velocity is given, V max is given to you 60, and they are asking what is the V minimum. This they are asking, right? Should understand, don't do wrong it. When sun, they said when sun is nearest to the sun, sorry, the planet is nearest to the sun, means at this point nearest to the sun means what? Distance is minimum and velocity is what? Maximum. So means this 60 is given, that V max given, V min we have to find. Okay, this power you can cancel here. So V minimum will be this answer. Okay, this is V minimum we want to find. So V minimum becomes 60 into what? 1.6 by it becomes what? 8. 8 goes what? 0.2 times. So that becomes what? 12. Is that option given? Yes, first option is given here. Meter per second, same unit you would write. Okay. Question number 8, you see, the distance of a planet from the sun is 5 times the distance between the earth and sun. Okay, and the time period of the planet is what? So two things they are comparing. First they are comparing what? Earth and sun. So that distance we know, let's call R, and time period we know is what? 24 hour, right? Then they are comparing some other planet is there. Okay, some planet and sun. Distance is given 5 times of the earth, right now. The distance of planet from sun is 5 times of the earth. Then what is the time period T2 we have to calculate here. So let's write same relation. T1 by T2 is equal to what? R1 by R2 and power what? 3 by 2. T1 means 24 hours, we are talking about earth. Time of the second we have to calculate. Distance of earth and sun we calling R. The planet we calling what? 5R. Power what? 3 by 2. So 5 power 3 by 2. So that's your answer. What is the answer? T2. T2 comes here. This goes 24 into what? 5 root 3. So how options are given? Okay. See carefully here. Answer they are asking in terms of year. So for earth it will be what? 1 year. You can write here 1 year, right? So this become what? Just 1 year. In terms of year they are asking, not I wrote here 24, I don't know why. Okay. So time, even we write in days, become 365 days. I wrote 24 hours, that was wrong. So 1 year is given. So answer become in terms of what? This one, same unit, 1 year. So 5 root 3 by 2 years. So that is given which option? First option is given, right? Okay. So these questions were in your sheet. Apart from this, like I discussed few more questions to you. Suppose they ask question like this one, that this is some picture will be given to you, and so they will say sun is at this point. They said that they will say that an object or a planet move from A to B, okay, in time t, okay, and it covers what? Area A. Then they said that some other point here C, and this point is what? D. They said it time taken to move from C to D is what? T by 3, and this area is what? A2, correct? Time to go from A to B is they given T, and this area swept is what? A. They said moves from C to D in time what? T by 3. Then what is area A2 in terms of what? This A. So what is the answer? We know that area and time are what? Proportional. Okay, So either you can write a1 by a2 is equal to t1 by t2, or already you know that this is time t, here time becomes t by 3 reduced by 3 times. So your a2 should be what, a by what 3 should be reduced by what 3 times, correct. They can ask ratio or the new value like this way. Okay. Okay, so this was your Kepler's law. Okay, and next lecture we will be learning about like acceleration due to gravity and these things. Okay, thank you so much for watching.